Hey everyone, I am Manoj Kumar. Today we will be talking about national income chapter of microeconomics for class 12, and this is my fourth video in the series on this chapter. In the first video we talked about how to approach this chapter, the various steps that we are required to follow to get a grip over the chapter, to have mastery over the content. Then in my second video I talked about the circular flow of income, output and expenditure. Then in third video I discussed the various related terms, associated terms with this chapter. And here in the fourth video in that series we will be talking about computation of national income, wherein we will be talking about different methods and the formula of different methods of computation or calculation of national income. You all are aware that there are three methods: income method, expenditure method and value added method to compute national income. This value added method is also known as output method or product method. So we will be taking up all the three methods separately and see the formula, the main parts of the formula and the components of the formula. Right? So first of all, let us talk about income method. Let us talk about income method of calculating national income. So in income method, let us see what are the components, main parts of this method. The first one is compensation of employees. The first one is compensation of employees. You must have heard of compensation package, which people get when they pass out from higher institute of learning like IIT, IIMs and all that. So that is compensation of employees. Second is operating surplus. Second is operating surplus. Then we add mixed income in it. Then we add mixed income in it, and when we add up these three, we get net domestic product at factor cost. And let us remember and be very clear that when we are talking about national income, we are talking about net national product at factor cost, which is the national income which is denoted by capital Y. So whenever we are talking of national income, we are talking about net national product at factor cost. So when we have to find out national income, we have to calculate NNP at factor cost. So here we have domestic product. To convert this domestic into national, as you might recall, we have to add NFIA into it, net factor income from abroad. When we add this, we get NNP at factor cost, which is equal to national income and denoted by Y. So these are the four main parts of the income method. When we add up all of them, we get national income. Right? Now these are the main parts. Fine. It has subparts like compensation of employees. Like compensation of employees. Now, this compensation of employees has three subparts. One is cash, another is kind, and the third one is social security contribution by employers. Social security contribution by employers. Now, cash is pretty clear. Then we have in kind, we have many different items like rent-free house, free telephone, free power, free education to kids, chauffeur-driven car, subsidized canteen facilities, etc., etc. So for all these items, employees are reimbursed. They get paid from the company. These all are together known as perquisites or perks in short. This is the main what I should say, this is the main lucrative part of any job. The more the kind of items we have here, the more lucrative the job is. So, cash is one part, another is kind. We saw the different items. And in social security contribution by employers, like there is provident fund. So employees also contribute to provident fund, but they give it from their cash. And employers also contribute in provident fund, but instead of giving to the employees, it is deposited in the provident fund. Then there is group insurance. Where the premium is paid by the employer, but the benefits accrue to the employees. So these are the different sub-parts of the compensation of employees. When we add them up, we get compensation. For example, you might have heard that someone is getting 12 lakh per annum. That is the compensation package. It does not mean that the person is taking 1 lakh cash per month, which comes around to 12 lakh in a year. When we say 1 lakh per annum or 12 lakh, 1 lakh per month or 12 lakh per annum, what we are doing is we are counting each one of them. The companies call them C2C, cost to the company. They include all the items. Fine. So this is, if compensation of employees is given, we are not required to look into this. But if compensation of employees is not given, we are required to find these three items, add them up, and then we get compensation of employees. Right? Be very clear. What happens is, if you don't have the right concept, and to confuse students in the figure of numericals, they will give compensation of employees as well as cash. If you are not sure that this cash is part of compensation of employees, you will add both compensation of employees as well as cash. That's why I lay stress on the fact that you must be aware of the main part and its subparts. Right? Then we have operating surplus. This is the main part. It has two subparts. One is income from property. property. And another is income from entrepreneurship. Income from entrepreneurship. You are aware that for entrepreneurship we get profit. And income from property, we have three components. One is rent, which we get for land and building. Then there is interest, which we get for capital that is invested. And then there is royalty. This royalty comes from intellectual property. When we say intellectual property, what we mean is something in which we have applied our mind and it is patented in our name. For example, if a author writes a book and the author has copyright with him or her, for every copy sold of the book, that author gets the royalty. Another example is the kind of Pizza Hut, Domino's outlets that you can see all around your city. They all use the brand name of the parent company, Pizza Hut or Domino's. They use their technical know-how, and out of their earnings they pay royalty to the parent company because they are using their technical know-how, they are using their other know-how. So that is the royalty. And then again, profit has three parts. One is dividend, another is retained earnings or undistributed profit, and third is corporation tax. So, if operating surplus is given, we are not required to look for these. If operating surplus is not given, then we are required to look for income from property and income from entrepreneurship. If these two are not given, then we are supposed to look for rent, interest, royalty and profit. And again, if profit is not given, we have to look for dividend, retained earnings and corporation tax. Add these three, then we get profit. Add these three, then we get income from property. Right? So you have to be very clear. If profit is also there and dividend is also there, you are not required to take into account dividend because dividend is part of profit. If rent is given and income from property is also given, or rent is given and operating surplus is also given, then you are not supposed to take into account rent because rent is part of operating surplus. So this is the main part and these are sub parts. It depends on what types of items are given in the numericals. What we are required to find out is operating surplus. What we are required to find out is compensation of employees. Then the third item is mixed income. Mixed income is income generated by self-employed persons or professionals. Like, who are self-employed persons? The petty businessman that you can see on the footpath, the Golgappa wala, the chaat wala who is there on the footpath, and self-employed professionals, a doctor who is running a clinic, or an advocate who is running a firm, law firm. So they are professionals. So income generated by self-employed persons and professionals, they are counted as mixed income. Right? And this net factor income from abroad, if you can recall that circular flow of income, output and expenditure. Then household gives factor services to the world. It takes factor services from the world, and for providing factor services to the world, we get factor income from abroad, and for taking factor services from abroad, we make factor payment to the rest of the world. So net factor income from abroad is factor income from abroad minus factor income to abroad. So if net factor income from abroad is given, no problem. If it is not given, then we have to look for factor income from abroad and factor income to abroad. So you have to remember the main parts and their subparts. Whenever you approach a numerical, what you are required to do is you are required to write the formula. Once you write the formula, you look for the items. If compensation of employees is given, we are not required to look at any of these. If compensation of employees is not given, we have to find out these three. If operating surplus is given, we are not required to look at these. If operating surplus is not given, we have to find out these items, add them up to get operating surplus. Similarly, if NFI is given, we are not required to look for its subparts. If it is not given, we are required to find out factor income from abroad as well as factor income to abroad. Right? So if you can remember and recall the main parts and their subparts, it is pretty easy to work out the numericals. What happens in numericals? You are supposed either to subtract or add the items. There is no division, there is no multiplication. Right? Now we will be talking about the expenditure method. Now we will be talking about the expenditure method. If you can recall the types of goods, you might remember that we have two types of goods, intermediate goods and final goods. And final goods are of two types, consumption goods and capital goods. While calculating national income, you might recall we don't take into account the intermediate consumption. Why? That we will see when we will be seeing the value added method. In expenditure method, we incur expenditure on consumption goods as well as capital goods. So we take into account the consumption goods and capital goods. So in expenditure method, the items are: number one, we have private final consumption expenditure. We have private final consumption expenditure. It is done by private sector, which includes firms as well as individuals. Then we have government final consumption expenditure. Government final consumption expenditure. So here in these two items, we are talking about consumption expenditure incurred by the private sector and consumption expenditure incurred by the government sector. When we add these two, we get total final consumption expenditure. Total final consumption expenditure. The third item now we have done the consumption goods. Now comes capital goods. So the third item is gross domestic capital formation. Gross domestic capital formation. And the fourth item is net exports. The fourth item is net exports. So, like income method, here also we have four different items. Right? When we add these four items, we get GDP at market price. Now, if you recall, the national income is NNP at factor cost. So we have to convert this gross into net, this domestic into national, and this market price into factor cost. So to convert gross into net, we subtract depreciation from it. We get NDP at market price. To convert market price into factor cost, we subtract NIT. We get NDP at factor cost. And to convert domestic into national, we add up NFIA, then we get NNP at factor cost, which is national income. Right? So, you are already aware of that, how to convert one aggregative measure of national income into another. We have done that in our previous video. I hope you are thorough with that. Now, 1 and 2 is pretty clear. The third item is gross domestic capital formation. This is the main part. It has two subparts. One is gross fixed domestic capital formation. Gross fixed domestic capital formation. Here we are talking about fixed assets. And the second is change in stock. Second is change in stock, which is closing stock minus opening stock. Closing stock minus opening stock. Let us recall intermediate goods. Whatever items are used in the production process during the course of a financial year, all those goods are categorized as intermediate goods. Now, at the end of the financial year, we have closing stock. Now, whatever is left, not used in the production process, that is inventory. We have invested our capital in that. So, in next financial year, whatever stock is left, we begin the next financial year with those goods. And those goods are then counted as capital goods. Those goods are then counted as capital goods. Whatever was used during the financial year in the production process, all those are categorized as intermediate goods. Whatever is left at the end of the financial year, we begin the next financial year with that much capital. So, that goods will now in the next financial year will be counted as capital goods. Right? So, that is change in stock, and this gross fixed domestic capital formation has three components. One is fixed investment, fixed investment by private sector, fixed investment by private sector, then fixed investment by government, and then we have fixed investment in housing and construction. Fixed investment in housing and construction like roads, airports, railway lines, dams, etc. So here gross domestic capital formation is the main part. Then it has two subparts: gross fixed domestic capital formation and change in stock. So if gross domestic capital formation is given, we are not required to look at these. If it is not given, then we will look for gross fixed domestic capital formation and change in stock. If change in stock is not given, then we will look for closing stock and opening stock. If gross fixed domestic capital formation is not given, then we will look for fixed investment by private sector, fixed investment by government sector, and fixed investment in housing and construction. So this is the main part. These two are subparts. This change in stock has this subpart, and this gross domestic capital formation have these subparts, right? And then we have net exports. Net exports is, please recall that we had seen that whenever we use the word net, it means something has been subtracted. So net exports is total exports minus total imports. So if net exports is given, we will not look at total exports and total imports. But if net exports is not given, then we will look for total exports and total imports, subtract total imports from total exports to get net exports. So these are the four main items. Items at number 3 and 4 have their subparts. What you are required to do? You are required to write the formula. You are required to look for that item in the numerical given. If that item is not given, net exports is not given, you will look for these two. If gross domestic capital formation is not given, you will look for these two. If these two are not given, you will look for these three and these two. Right? So if you follow this step, there is no reason why you should not get the correct answer. Right? Now we have one more method, that is value added method. So now let us see what is there in the value added method. If you recall, earlier we have seen that in the case of a carpenter who makes chairs and tables or bench and desk, what he or she does is they get their woods, some mica and fevicol from somewhere else, that is their intermediate goods. For example, the carpenter has bought all those intermediate goods for, let us say, 3,000. When he gives it a shape, he sells that for 5,000. So the value addition is 5,000 minus 3,000. The value addition is 2,000. That is how it works. So that is known as value addition. So third method is value added method. Value added method. Now what are the different items of this value added method? Number one is, there are three sectors in the economy: primary sector, secondary sector, and tertiary sector. And there is value addition in all these three sectors. So, here we have gross value added in primary sector. Then we add gross value added in secondary sector, and then we have gross value added in tertiary sector or services sector. So these three items gives us the amount of value addition in all three sectors of the economy. When we add them up, we get GVA, gross value added at market price, which is equal to gross domestic product at market price. Now just recall that to find national income, we have to find out NNP at factor cost. So like in expenditure method, we have to do some addition and subtraction to convert this aggregative measure GDP at market price into NNP at factor cost. To convert gross into net, we subtract depreciation from it, we get NDP at market price. To convert market price into factor cost, we subtract NIT from it, then we get NDP at factor cost. And to convert domestic into national, we add net factor income from abroad, and then we get NNP at factor cost, which is equal to national income denoted by Y. So what we are required to look for is gross value added in three different sectors. Now, what is gross value added? What is gross value added? Gross value added is equal to value of total output minus intermediate consumption. Value of total output minus intermediate consumption. Now just recall the example of carpenter that we have seen. His value of total output was 5,000 and his intermediate goods was 3,000. So 5,000 minus 3,000, 2,000 is the gross value added. Right? Now, if to find gross value added, we need these two items. Right? If value of total output is not given, then instead of value of total output, we have sales plus change in stock. Sales plus change in stock. Whatever was sold, we earned revenue out of it, and whatever stock was left, we have seen that is also included in value of total output, and then we subtract intermediate consumption from it, and then we subtract intermediate consumption from it. So if value of total output is not given, we are having sales and change in stock. If sales is not given, then instead of sell, we have price into quantity. When we multiply price and quantity, we get sales. And then we have change in stock, which is closing stock minus opening stock, and then we subtract intermediate consumption from it. And then we subtract intermediate consumption from it. So, to find gross value added, we have to look for these two, value of total output and intermediate consumption. If value of total output is not given, we will look for sales and change in stock. If sales is not given, we will look for price into quantity of a particular sector. And if change in stock is not given, we will look for closing stock and opening stock. Now, I am sure you must have got the feel of the items, main parts of the formula and their subparts, and how we must be very clear about the items and sub-items, main parts and subparts. If these concepts are crystal clear in our mind, then there is no reason why we would not be able to find the correct answer. Now, this was the formula and their subparts. I had already discussed that now the next step is to look for worked out solutions in your book. Why it is important? It is important that because it will expose you to the different items over and over again. You will use the formula also over and over again. So by looking at 30, 40 or 50 worked out solutions as might be given in your book, you will be able to have a feel of how it works. You will be able to recall the different items and sub-items, main parts and sub-parts. And once you are done with that, the next step is to start working out unsolved numericals given in your book. Unsolved numericals given in your book. You must remember that in these working out the numericals, we use only addition and subtraction. There is not even multiplication or division. So, the solution works out in few steps. In first step, you write the formula. In second step, you put the figures for different parts of the formula. Then in third step, you put together plus signs and you put together minus signs. In fourth step, you add up all the plus signs and all the minus signs. And in the fifth step, you get the answer. So if you are clear about the formula, you are clear about the parts and subparts, you will be able to do the numericals without any problem, without any hitch or glitch. And remember, this chapter is of 10 marks in your board exam. So if you know the terms, if you know the formula, if you know the parts and main parts and subparts, you will be able to score 10 out of 10. But what it requires is following the steps that I had talked about in my first video. I hope now you have been able to get a feel of how to go about this chapter. So I wish you all the best. Just go through the solved numericals in your book and then start working out unsolved problems. This is the second last video on this topic. In my next video, which will be the last in the series, we will be talking about the various precautions that we are required to follow while taking into account whether an item has to be included or not to be included while calculating national income. So go ahead with the numericals. All the best. Thank you.